Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and since it's Women's History Month, I'm here today to talk to you about Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23, Episode 1 of Season 1. So this is a show that came out in 2012. It lasted for 2 seasons, and this was actually a really hilarious show. It came out on ABC, and I remember really loving season 1. I don't know if I love season 2 or not. Some things kind of, I don't know, something just felt different about season 2. Plus, this show really confused me. Why? Because they aired episodes out of order. See, when this came out in 2012, it was like a mid-season replacement type show, and those things never do particularly well. And if they do, they get a couple of seasons and then they end. And so, like, it came out somewhere mid 2012, and then it only came out for 7 episodes, right? The first season. Then in the second season, it came out in the same year, just a few months apart. Apparently, what happened was they had 6 episodes left over from season 1. They just never aired because they were just testing the waters, and then once it got renewed, they added those first season episodes to season 2. And season 2 was much, much longer. And then, of course, it just got canceled. They had huge ratings in season 1, but they dropped by half in season 2. I guess people just really wasn't like digging the show. Plus, one reason why it got so confusing is because they aired episodes out of order from season 1 and 2. So it became very, very, very confusing and stuff. And ABC has done this before with Super Fun Night. The pilot that they showed in the first episode was not the real pilot. And the real pilot showed up halfway into the season. And I just remember being very oddly confused and everything. And what's so crazy is that both shows star Lisa LaPria, and she was in both series and everything. And so she just never had no luck there. But thankfully, she has luck on CBS with The Equalizer, because she wasn't getting no luck at CW's Nancy Drew, only appearing in a few episodes and stuff. And so this show was just a zany, wacky, crazy series. And I guess after a while, people got tired of the crazy zaniness in season 2. I remember when I saw the trailer for this, I'm like, oh man, I gotta watch this. It just looks too funny. And it was funny. And it stars Kristen Ritter as Chloe. And she is an insane, off the wall, really rude user type person who lives in New York. Like, she uses people literally for their money, and she's crazy, and she does drugs and all this other crap, and she gives young kids alcohol. Like, she is just off the wall nuts. And she meets a woman named, I think is June, and she's played by Dreamer Walker and stuff. I remember I first saw Kristen Ritter in that Vegas movie with Ashton Kutcher and Cameron Diaz in a very, very tiny role. And I remember I always wanted to see more of her. So when she got into this series, I jumped at the chance. And then, of course, this got canceled, and she went on to Jessica Drew. I didn't like the Jessica Drew show. I just didn't. And everything. But she has a very unique, exotic look to her. And so this was my first time seeing Dreamer and everything. And Dreamer is hilarious. And it was also my first time seeing James Vanderbeek. No, Vanderbeek, that's it. In like anything, you know. And I never watched Dawson Creek. Like, never. I've never been interested in watching that series. And so I don't know what it's about. I just know he comes through a window, and that's no, wait, this is my second time seeing him. Scary Movie. I saw him in that. But this is the first time I ever got to see him act. And he's hilarious in this thing. It's also my first time seeing Eric Andre and anything. And so, like, He's pretty funny in this too. It's crazy because this show is literally just a knockoff of Two Broke Girls. I mean, it is literally a knockoff. Two Broke Girls came out in 2011. This came out in 2012. ABC was looking to capitalize on that, but Two Broke Girls lasted a whole lot longer than this series. Is this funnier than Two Broke Girls? Not in its earlier days, but in its earlier, later seasons. Oh yeah. So the earlier seasons of Two Broke Girl, nah, it's not that funny in this. But then, yeah, this show is funnier than, like, you know, in the later seasons and stuff. And Eric went to go play Max's boyfriend in season 3. I don't know what the heck happened to his acting, but I did not like him in Two Broke Girls. I liked him in this show, but when he was in Two Broke Girls, I don't know, man. His acting just, I don't know what the world happened. And so, since it's a knockoff, see, both series star a dark-haired woman who's rude and with a sharp tongue and, like, you know, just mean. And it also stars a blonde girl who's hopeful, nice, sincere, and needs a place to stay. Such a knockoff ripoff, man. But the difference is like totally different. Like they, Two Broke Girls work in a restaurant. Here, one just has no job and the other one works in like a cafe, which is kind of like a restaurant. But like, you know, whereas Chloe will use people for their money and stuff, Max will not. And whereas Caroline is kind of like a dipsy kind of blonde who's always whining about her fortune, Dreamer's, not Dreamer, but that's the actress. June's a little bit smarter, but still optimistic. And so when this show started off, it started off with like Chloe making out with a guy and they're on a birthday cake. And that's that whole scene from the trailer talking about like, you know, I screwed your boyfriend and I'm gonna need money for rent. And I got ice cream up my crack. And everything. Now this show starred a lot of famous people. And I mean a lot of famous people make appearances in this show. And so like, it starts off with her making out with what's the name's boyfriend and everything, right? And it turns out when June walks in, she's screaming because that's her boyfriend that Chloe's making out with. But then you hear narration talking about, yeah, that's my roommate making out with my fiance, and it was the best time of my life. I'm like, wait, what? So then we get to see what happened leading up to this. June is basically a woman who's fresh out of college. She moved out from her parents. She had a huge job offer in New York. So she bought like an apartment, stuff like that. And she, you know, she's making it for herself. She always chat with her parents via like webcam and stuff. This was back when people started doing the face chat thing a lot. So sadly, when she gets to her job, it seems that like the place has went into like foreclosure or something like that. And the business is like a dud. And everybody's stealing everything in the business. And that's where she meets Eric's character, Mark. And so like he's all, yeah, you know, boss lost his job and all that stuff like that. And, you know, everybody's stealing stuff and all this other stuff. So she's kind of like screwed. She goes back to her apartment. And something happened. It's like some type of weird, something happened. I don't know what happened. But like a crime scene or something like that. So they have to tape it up and nobody can go inside the apartment. Well, the moving van's here with all her stuff. And he's all like, where do you want it? So we literally see her sitting outside a cafe and she has all her furniture there. And she's looking sad and pathetic. And Mark shows up and he's all like, I'm sorry, miss, but you can't live here and stuff. And she's all like, I just saw you 4 hours ago. He's like, oh yeah, time flies and everything. It's the dude who she met like at the other job. He got a job working there. And so she's all like, you know, they say I can sit out here if I buy like a coffee and everything. You feel so bad for her, man. She does a great job feeling sad and pathetic. And so she's looking for an apartment because she doesn't want to move back in with her parents. And so she's going through all these like tenants, and there's a cat dude, there's a one dude who talking about we may be lovers, we may not be. But then she meets Chloe, and Chloe seems like the dream of all roommates, you know. And so, but then she hits you with the whole I need first month's rent, last month's rent, and some kind of deposit for like security. And she does it with a weird look on her face that's kind of like, huh. So then when she leaves from that place, she meets Chloe's neighbor, and played by Lisa. And she is Robin. And Robin literally warns her, don't trust, like, you know, that the bee in apartment 23. And then she just closes the door and won't answer that of June. And so June literally finds out why. When the next morning she's like, you know, in the apartment, and June's talking to the neighbor. The neighbor's name is Eli. And so Eli's across from the hall in a different building, and when he's talking to her, he's asking her some perverted questions, and it turns out he is touching himself. This will never fly in today's television. And this happened on ABC of all things. And so then she meets Chloe, and Chloe comes in butt naked. And she starts eating, like, you know, June's food. And it turns out that Chloe is just totally obnoxious. She invites men over, having like an orgy. She blasts the music all kind of times of the night. And she's friends with James Vanderbeek. And it turns out he's playing a fictional version of himself. And so, like, it turns out she only turns out to be a bad roommate so she can just get money from, like, you know, her roommates. Basically, they move in, they give her the money up front, and then they leave because they hate living there. And so she realized, oh wait, that lady across the hall was telling the truth. And she's like, oh, Robin, no, Robin's like in love with me and everything. And so the Robin character is a very confusing character. She warned June of Chloe and everything. And yeah, and when they confront her and everything, it seems that, how do I put this? June is obsessed with her, but hates her at the same time, but she's more obsessed with her. And the thing is, she's all like, I have boundaries and I'm regaining my womanhood. But then she's like obsessed with Chloe and literally falls in love with her and follows her around like a puppy and will do anything she says. It's very odd to see her character be that way, because she wants to be strong and hate Chloe, but then she's madly in love with her and obsessed with her. And it's insulting because, you know, Robin is Asian, and I don't know what race Kristen Ritter is, but, you know, she has like pale skin, and it just makes her seem subservient to that of like a white master type thing. And it's very annoying, like the only Asian character in here, and she's obsessed with Chloe. Like, you see what I'm saying? It's almost like the whole Voldemort and the whole Nagini thing when it turns out she's an Asian woman. So that would never fly in today's standards either. And so, like, what's her name? June just hates Chloe, but she has no place to go. And it turns out that Chloe stole money from June. And so when I say she has no boundaries, she has no boundaries. When, like, June is taking a bath, Chloe comes in to poop and everything and tells her, you know, I stole your money. So what's her name's gonna get her back? She sells all of Chloe's stuff. And so Chloe seems like at first she's upset about this, talking about, oh, my grandmother gave me the ottoman and everything. And so she sold everything to Robin. And so Robin gave it to somebody else. And so they go to this people's home. I think they're like Pakistani or from Israel or something like that. And so they're all like, you know, I ain't selling it back to you. My kids like it and everything. And so Chloe's all like, I see what's going on. She sees an old man. She's like, I'm going to talk to the hierarchy of the house. And so she hops in his lap and she starts flirting with him. And the woman's all like, what are you doing? She's all like, I went over your head and everything talking to the man in the house. She's like, that's my neighbor. But eventually, they are able to get the ornament back. And so when they come back, all of Chloe's stuff is there. James just basically went over to Robin's and flirted with her to get all the stuff back. The Robin character is a very embarrassing character. Like, seriously, like, I wish they would have wrote her better. And so it turns out there are drugs in the ottoman and everything, and that's why she wanted it back, which is interesting, more of a ripoff of Max, because Max is in the drugs on Two Broke Girls. So June is really upset because she bought drugs and all this other stuff. So then at some point Chloe meets that of June's like fiance. And her fiance is like a scientist who runs experiments on young kids to see the effects of them. But the young kid he runs the experiment on is a young little black boy, which Chloe thinks that's kind of weird. But then his assistant comes in, a really hot female. So she knows what's going on. She knows that he might be stepping out. And so she wants to protect June. So she gets the little boy drunk, like drunk. And he spills everything about how that dude cheats on like June with everybody. So when she tells that of June, June is now working at the calf with Mark. But June does not want to believe her and everything because of how much Chloe lies. Because Chloe is a pathological liar. So Chloe feels like, all right, she needs to catch me in the act. And that's where the whole making out with the fiance and the cake and everything like that. But then when she sees all that, she still doesn't believe that her boyfriend was originally a cheater. She just thinks that Chloe seduced him until the assistant comes in and it's all like, what the heck is going on? I thought we had something. And then turns out that he was sleeping with the assistant's sister and everything. So yeah, this is basically just like, you know, Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23. It's a very zany, very crazy, but very hilarious show. But it did start to dip around season 2. And sadly, it is a knockoff of Two Broke Girls. But I really wish it would have lasted a bit longer. Apparently, after it got canceled and everything, because seriously, ABC just took it like straight from like, you know, their lineup, and they didn't even show reruns. Like when they was done with it, they was done with it. And there was 8 episodes left. Apparently these 8 episodes are on Hulu and everything. I never knew that until now. I don't even think I've watched the entire series. I'm missing those last 8 episodes and I've never watched it. And this show has never been out on DVD. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.